Hello friends, today's topic is the cost of living in Ireland. Let's rant.
I feel like there's been a few really hard weeks with like work and everything in general, but just I suppose it's time of the year where seasons are ending, we're not as busy in clinic, we're not getting as many hours. It just always hits a bit of a but with that I'm also trying to like upskill and do more courses. So I'm doing all my Pilates courses, I have all my EFR, so my emergency first response and all that stuff as well. So there's a lot going on, and then I want to get into women's health a little bit more. Why am I pacing? I don't know, but with that they're obviously expensive, so I'm spending all this money to upskill, but I'm not making half as much money because obviously all the time going into courses, but the lack of hours in clinics at the minute, and all my additional pitch side stuff and teamwork that I was doing is coming to an end, or is at an end. So it's so hard to like, I feel like I'm really just scraping by at the minute, and it's quite a funny position to be in. Like, I thought at my age I'd have my life completely sorted out, but no. But yeah, I am trying to stay positive with it all. Don't think anyone talks about like the shitty sides of like not being on a salary, or just in general. I don't think people are talking, I suppose, as much about how it is to be living in your 20s at home in Ireland in this day and age with the current cost of living. Like, my expenses going out for my fuel, my food, my living expenses, like all these other things, all these upskilling courses. I'm trying to be the best at my job and put my best front forward and doing all these courses to better myself. Like, what am I getting back for the money that I'm making and the taxes and stuff that I'm paying? It's sickening. It's just not easy being like 24 and early 25 and still feeling quite dependent on my parents. Only that I live at home, I generally don't know how I'd survive. Like, I cannot afford to move out. I cannot afford to leave this house, to be honest. I just like, it's a frustrating place. But yeah, anyone else in the same boat, let me know please. Make me feel better that I'm not alone and I'm not the only one that needs mommy and daddy to let me keep living here forever. It's just a pain, but anyways, we'll all be grand and we'll all get there, and what's for me won't pass me and all of that jazz. So yeah, the plans are written there somewhere.
Cost of living in Ireland, a detailed overview for the students who are migrating here to study. Let's see. Studying in Ireland can be a rewarding experience, but it is definitely very important for all the students to plan your finances very carefully, because the cost of living is pretty high here. The first one is accommodation. Accommodation can take the largest chunk of your expenses. The on-campus accommodation can vary around from 500 to 600 euros to around 1,100, depending on the type of the cities that you are in and also the type of accommodation that you choose. The option is private rentals. Renting a room in a shared house can cost you around 400 to 1,500, again depending on the type of accommodation. The cities, Dublin being the most expensive city, and also there are homestays, like you can take your accommodation with a family local who's living here, and that is completely dependent on the landlords, like how they would like to rent out their space. There's no fixed price for that, but there's a range. It's completely depending on the city. Like, Dublin is the highest, and I think Cork, Galway, and the other cities followed by Dublin. The next one is utilities. Utilities such as electricity, water, heating, internet. So these can cost you around 100 to 200 euros, and usually students who are living in a shared space, they tend to split the bills. Like, everybody can share the entire month's utility bill and they split among themselves. So the third option is about the food. It completely depends on your dietary habits and your eating choices. So the third one is about the food. The food expenses, it varies depending upon your dietary choices and your eating habits. The most economical option is cooking yourself, and also the meals can vary from 10 euros to 30 euros for students that I'm talking about. If you want to fine dine, I know the expenses are always higher. So food expenses are not that bad. Average students can expect to spend about 250 to 400 euros on an average per month on food expenses for cooking yourself, to buy groceries, and including your dining out options. The fourth one is about the transportation. The transportation costs are very different. Again, it depends on the cities. Cities like Dublin has various options like public buses, trams, and trains. You have monthly passes, and that works out very cheap. Like Cork does not have trams. Also, walking is an option if you can live somewhere close to the university. Most of the students do live close to the university, so walking is an option, and cycling is definitely the most cheaper option. Also, health wise, it's a very good one. So these are the types of transport that you have, but you do have the monthly passes which work out cheaper if you're living far away. The next one is about the study materials. We did cover about the course fees and how it varies for EU and non-EU students in the previous video. Here, I've heard that students do spend around 500 to 1000 euros for the entire month. If I'm not wrong, let me double check that. Sorry, I said month. It's for the entire year to buy the study materials, and it depends on every university. I think you have a good library system. So apart from your tuition fee, you will also spend around 500 to 1000 euros per year for any extra study materials. The next one is about the health insurance. This is essential for non-EU students. I think it ranges around 300 to 600 euros depending upon the plan, about the insurance plan that you opted for. You have different plans, and I think your consultants are talking, so don't trust all the consultants. I will talk about this in the next video. Stay tuned for that. So health insurance, that's how much it costs. And it's about the other personal expenses like clothing, toiletries, and your other personal expenses. Just add about 50 to 150 euros depending on your lifestyle, how fashionable you are. Everything matters. So that is one other expense you can add on. With such a thoughtful planning and budgeting, students can enjoy a wonderful cultural and academic experience in Ireland while keeping your budget in check, which is the most important thing. All the best.
You want to know what it's like to rent in Ireland? Here are the two options you have if you are trying to find somewhere to live in Dublin.
You can choose to live in one of these modern apartment blocks like the ones here in Dublin 8, but here's probably why you won't.
Now you can see from this sheet here that a one bedroom apartment in this complex ranges from 2,090 euros to 2,400 euros for a one bed apartment. Shocking.
I don't know anyone who has that type of money to spend on rent. So what are your other options? Sadly, this. I know somebody who was paying 600 euros to rent a bunk bed in this room. Now imagine spending 600 euros to live here. Landlords getting away with murder.
It's so sad to think that people who are trying to rent in Dublin, that's their options. It's either 600 euros for a bunk bed or 1,200 euros to share a room. Like, the new government need to cop the fuck on and sort out the housing situation in Ireland. How has there been a housing crisis for 12 years in this country? Like, it makes me want to smash my head off a wall. It's that bad. Absolutely shocking. Will things change? Who knows? Let's see.
Right, I've just had a TikTok come up on my For You page posted by Cool FM, which was saying about how they're, like the student maintenance loan, it was increasing by like 20% for all students in Northern Ireland who might, like from Northern Ireland, who might be in like England or at home or whatever, right? I'll put it. So obviously, like, that's all well and good for normal students who are like living in student accommodation or like in student housing or whatever. But like, that's nothing to do with nurses. Like, I'm a student nurse and we're literally not allowed to apply for maintenance loans. Like, we get a bursary, £430 a month from the government, and that's it. We can't apply for student finance for anything else. Can't apply for student, like a maintenance loan, a maintenance grant, nothing. Unless you apply for like a student hardship fund. So out of that £430, I know I'm paying £350 a month for rent in Belfast, because I would hate to have to commute up and down like every week for my classes and stuff. Like, that's not for me. But I know there's people who pay more for that. Like, people who just don't have the choice to commute to and from uni. They're obviously, my phone's about to die. They're obviously going to have to pay for student accommodation. With what money? £430. That's meant to cover your rent, your food, your fuel money for going to and from placement if it's not like within walking distance or on a bus. I know in my uni they're saying, oh, like, don't work a part-time job. If I didn't work my part-time job at the weekends or like when in between shifts in placement, I wouldn't be able to survive. I'm actually just going to add in there that this £430 a month bursary has not increased since before COVID. Like, I was on placement one time with these nurses that were like qualified maybe 3-4 years, and they got exactly the same amount. This really turned into like a rant, but I just don't get it. Like, we're already not being paid for placement. Why are we having to suffer with like just the cost of living as well, when everyone else gets enough money?
€450 per week will be given to those who are in need of a job seeker's payment in March of 2025. For a very long time, there has been a conversation in relation to kind of a social welfare that is paid based on what you've earned previously or the time that you've worked previously. And in March, we will see the introduction of a pay-related job seeker. So if you are somebody who finds themselves losing their job from March 25 and you have built up kind of enough PRSI, you will be moved on to a pay-related social welfare payment, so pay-related job seekers. Now, this will see those who have been working getting a maximum of €450 per week for the first 12 weeks. That will reduce down to €375 for the next 12 weeks, and then it will go down to €300 after that. Now, this sounds really, really good, and it is good if you've worked somewhere for 10 years, you've got a, sizable income, you'll be on the €450. However, if you've worked somewhere for under 5 years, so say you've been 4 years and 10 months somewhere, you will only get a benefit for up to 6 months. And the maximum €450 would be based on your previous earnings. So it's 60% of your previous earnings up to a max. So if you were somebody who was earning €600 per week for the last 5+ years and you lose your job, 60% of that €600 would actually be less than €450 per week. In that instance, you would be paid €360 per week for the first 12 weeks, and then it would reduce down to €300 for the following 12 weeks, and then it would be less again. So what do you think of the new pay-related social welfare? Is it something that you welcome, or do you think it's actually not okay until they solve the issues around long-term unemployment? We also know we're practically at full employment, and the vast majority of people who are on long-term unemployment are there for various reasons other than I just couldn't be bothered, like we're led to believe is the case. But we're not supporting those who are long-term unemployed with assistance to getting them into work, like things like Tours Nua, etc. They're not a solution. They help nobody. We're not doing anything around mental health. We're not doing anything around education. So I just feel that unless we address those issues, it's really a little bit unfair, because it'll keep those long-term unemployed at a lower rate. And there was a lot of talk in the lead up to the budget that they weren't going to give job seekers the €12 pay rise or pay increase like they were giving all the other social welfare benefits. And I think we'll see next year and years going on that payment will kind of stay level, and the pay related is the one that will go up.
What do you think about Ireland? Comment down below, and thank you for watching until next time.